Start with the focus on the trip to Chesterfield on Saturday. It's quite an encounter at Meadow Lane earlier in the season. Are you expecting a similar affair this weekend?
Yeah, in terms of, I think that the game resembled a league game. You know, it looked more like a League One game, I think, than a National League game. And with the quality that Chesterfield have, I can't imagine it's going to look any different because both teams are very competitive and full of quality, I think.
I mean, it's great for the neutral and for both sets of fans, I suppose. Two teams of, like you say, real quality, both going at it with a lot at stake.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's what people want to see, and the players all want to be involved in these games. So yeah, we need to make sure we're at the top of our game to be able to play in this one.
We spoke to Adam Chickson earlier, asked him a similar question about how important these games are compared to other games in the league, and he gave me the answer saying that every game is important this year. It doesn't matter who you play at what end of the table. Is that something that you stress to your players?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying the same message from day one, that we are playing every single game to win, and we're playing every single game to try to stamp our authority on the game, and we've been able to do that in quite a number, but there's been lots and lots of challenges against different teams in different position in the league. Some games easier, some games more difficult. It's impossible to anticipate. So we're trying to make sure that we have the mentality throughout the group that Chicks is talking about, that we understand how important it is to perform on a consistent level, not just in a few games.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's important as well to focus on yourselves and not to look too far down the table at the other teams chasing you.
Yeah, exactly that. We have to try to make sure that we are performing at a high level and be honest. And if we win and we felt like we didn't perform at a good level, we need to make sure that we're aware of that. And likewise, if we didn't win a game, we have to be sensible enough to look at the performance in detail and discover and understand whether we actually played, we made a good performance and we weren't able to win, or there was more problems, and that's the process that we've tried to follow all the way through, and we're going to continue to do that.
Take us through that process from this weekend. I'd say edited the FA Trophy on penalties. When you look at that game back, whereabouts did it go wrong for your side?
Well, we played a new formation that we didn't play before, and we learnt so much about that formation and certain players playing in a position that is new for them. So we learnt a lot from that. We also learnt that we cannot consistently see a type of basic error that leads to very easy goals for our opponent. We have not done that throughout the season. We've been pretty mean, I think it's fair to say, defensively. We give very few goals to our opponent, but we're still able to put a huge number of players forward. So it's not like we're a team that we only defend, and therefore, yeah, of course, you're going to have a better chance to defend your goal efficiently if you don't attack. But I think it's fair to say that we attack as well. We scored a lot of goals, so we have to just have a refocus that we cannot be a team that gives goals to an opponent.
You mentioned the using a back four over the weekend. Is that something you might venture further with it in games going forward?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to be able to play in a different formation, because we maybe will suffer injuries and suspensions to players that we may feel with the remaining group that it suits them better to play a back four. We may discover that a certain opposition give us a problem with a back three, and we are able to resolve that problem with a back four. I would like always to be, as much as I possibly can, prepared for all the different problems that we may face, and try to use some experience to look into the future, what may happen. And so I really would like to feel comfortable that I have as many changes as possible with formations and with personnel playing in different positions. that can potentially swing a game in our favour.
Speaking of the future, you gave debut to Charlie Gill and Madu Cisse as well. What do you make of their performance in the FA Trophy?
I really thought they were both outstanding. I did. I thought that Charlie showed the quality that caught my eye with his ability to turn and to wriggle away from an opponent. He's got very good attacking instinct, great energy. I thought that was a brilliant debut for him. I thought Madu took on the instruction. I think Madu doesn't even play often in that position, but he's trained with the first team squad a number of times in that wing back position, and I felt that his discipline in his positional play was excellent. I thought that he drove at the fullback in a really convincing way, in a very aggressive way. I thought he made really good box entries with his crossing, and he drives at the fullback and puts the fullback on the back foot into the box, and he leaves the ball for Matty Palmer in a brilliant way. He done that twice, and it led to really good chances for us. So I was very pleased with both players and their performance, and I think that it's given us optimism for them in the future to be a bigger part of the squad.
Has it given you a bit of a headache, a positive headache for Saturday, given their impressive performances?
I think at the moment is probably too early for them to be considered to hold down a starting position in the first team squad, but they've made a huge impact on all of us and all the staff and the players, and I imagine that we will see more of both those guys in training with the first team, and hopefully pick up some more minutes on the pitch.
Let's hope so. Back to Adam Chickson, who we spoke to earlier, got his 8th goal of the season from wing back or left back, whichever position he's playing, and it's great to see both wing backs, Chickson and the man, contributing with their goals. That's something you're instilling in the players on the training pitch, to get those two wing backs forward to provide the goals, and so you're not as reliant on some of your more forward thinking players.
Yeah, I think absolutely. We've seen over the recent weeks that more players are chipping in with goals, and Cammy got off the mark with a great goal at home, and Chicks has been incredible with his goals. We're pushing Aaron to try to arrive more inside the box and be confident enough to finish and to cut inside the pitch and hit the ball with his left foot, which he done brilliant in the Wildstone game. But I think it's something he can do more, and I'm really happy with how much the guys are applying themselves and trying to add things to their game. I think Chicks has scored 3 goals in his whole career before this season, and I think we have to understand that that is a huge challenge for a player to remodel himself in his mind, that he can be a serious goal threat, and that's why Chicks is incredible, because of his application as well as his quality as a footballer. It's the way that he applies himself day in, day out is incredible, and so I think we saw Aaron at the far post and trying to score with a volley at the far post, and he needs to be brave enough to do that more and more, and he needs to be brave enough to try to head the ball at the far post as well. Toby is being pushed every day in training to try to make sure that he doesn't just pigeonhole himself as somebody who delivers opportunities for other players, but somebody that is a credible goal threat as well, because goals change games, and the more people that are confident enough to score, the stronger we are as a group. So yeah, I've been very impressed by Aaron and Chicks and Toby as well, and we're looking forward to getting Toby back with us.
Sure. Very finally, nearly 2,000 Notts fans will be travelling to Chesterfield on Saturday. I mean, it's going to make for a brilliant atmosphere, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when we see our fans, when we arrive at the stadium and we go out for the warm up and they're already there, and then we come out for the kick-off, and they've packed the away end like they do week in, week out, is just, it's an incredible feeling, and I think they will, and they have done so many times, help us to they almost suck the ball in the goal at times. They honestly do. So yeah, we're very, very grateful, and we appreciate them so much.
Perfect. And very finally, Luke, we are in the middle of January. Have you had any interest or bids for any of your key players?
No, no, we haven't. Honestly, we haven't. We know that people are watching, of course, we know that, but like I've said before, watching the player and building up a profile of the player and then actually committing, big sums of money to get those players is a different thing. So at the moment we're very calm about the situation. We know the guys, a number of them are performing very well, but people are going to have to be very serious about their offer to try and take them away from here. So no, there's no issues there.
Fair enough. All right, appreciate your time as always, Luke, and all the best for Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Luke. I'll start with Sunday. So obviously a lot of talk's been about Charlie and Madu's debut. I just wanted to know, does that indicate, to other players in the academy that there is a pathway to the first team under your management?
Yeah, I think it should do. We saw Lucian make his debut as well and sign his first contract, and guys like Bradley have been involved in a lot of training action, and they played in pre-season. Madu has been training with the first team a lot, because when I watched the second team, like I've said before, I've been so impressed, and these guys really stood out for me with really top performers in the second team, and they play in a really great way. So it's very enjoyable to go and watch them, because they play with a really good energy and they play football in a really nice way, and they're tough as well. So it's really enjoyable to watch them. And I saw Charlie in a county cup game playing against senior players, and was so brave. He'd take the ball, and they kicked him a lot that night. They really kicked him a lot, and he stood up to it. It was brilliant. So he deserved. He earned his debut, and I hope that the guys in the academy are thinking up to themselves that they have a chance. And okay, we have to make sure that every time we're on the pitch, we don't know who is watching, if the manager is watching or the assistant or coaching staff are watching somewhere. We have to go and make a really good performance, because they're taking us really seriously. I think they should think that, because we're seeing the guys now training a lot and getting on the pitch.
You had Macaulay Langstaff and Jim O'Brien on the bench for the defeat on Sunday. A lot was surprised that they weren't introduced for the penalty shootout, given their experience in the first team. I just wanted to know, what was the thinking behind not introducing them? Was it thinking ahead to Chesterfield this weekend?
Yeah, I think that we had enough, honestly, on the pitch. When you think that the first four were dispatched brilliantly, and then Matty Palmer, nobody would expect Matty to miss a penalty, and of course anyone can miss a penalty, it's no problem, but you wouldn't have any qualms at all about Matty taking one, and we still had Badge there to take one. So I think there was enough experience and quality on the pitch to be able to win a penalty shootout, and I don't think the penalties were a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. I think that Jim has been suffering a little bit with his shoulder as well, and so I felt like we were on the front foot in the second half of the game, and I thought that we had enough on the pitch, and we would possibly be able to go on and win the game in normal time. So I didn't feel like Jim was, it was a great moment for him to go on the pitch in that particular game and whatever. And Macca, I felt like, honestly, probably with Macca was more that I felt we had enough on the pitch to get over the line, and I didn't want to risk Macca. I think that he's so crucial for us, and I think Macca being on the pitch with the guys gives them a real confidence and a belief that we've always got goals in us with Macca leading the line. So I felt it was probably not the wisest thing. I felt like I said we had enough on the pitch to win the game without him. So yeah, maybe in hindsight Macca would have maybe found an opening and scored the winner. But hindsight's brilliant, because it's perfect.
And then you mentioned after the game that a number of players were struggling with niggling injuries, and that's why they weren't risked ahead of the game this weekend. Is that suggesting that some of the players may be struggling with the intensity that's in training, and how do you ensure that the players don't suffer in the long run, given that there's so many games left in the season?
No, that's interesting. We've been talking a lot, the staff, and yeah, I think ultimately we are where we are because a lot down to the intensity of the guys' work, and we have to be brave enough to continue that. I think would be crazy to change. We have to try to manage the guys and make sure that we give them the recovery time when we can, and we have to trust players to be able to go in and perform at a high level if they've been out of the team for a while. And we've seen great examples of that, I think, this season, that players have come in from being sidelined for a number of weeks and made a brilliant performance, and that comes down to the intensity that we train at. Otherwise those guys cannot come in from the cold and perform to such a high level. So we have to manage it, we have to manage it as we go along, but without losing what we are. And I feel like our intensity has dropped to some degree, and we have to push through that now. We have to push through that and play and find the energy and find the intensity. And of course, as staff, we have to try to, like I say, we have to try to manage individually the guys' workload now in a different way to how we have done earlier on in the season. We're aware of that and we're on that. But yeah, it's a case of pitches are changing, so they go from firm to soft. You can never anticipate the opposition's pitch. Sometimes it's drastically different to the surface that we play on at Meadow Lane and the surface that we train on day in, day out, which are very similar. And so these things always in this time of year for every squad of players will always take its toll. It's about how we manage that and how smart we can be. And it's about how ready all of the players are in the squad to make sure that they come in and make a brilliant performance when they come in.
It was a first appearance in, I think, 8 games for Conor Rawlinson on Sunday. How big of a boost is that for you, given the the defensive concerns?
Yeah, huge boost, and I think everyone would agree that his performance was excellent. And even in the closing minutes, he's making big forward runs to try to create an opportunity to win the game. Was amazing, really. And Conor has worked incredibly hard with his rehab. I mean, the guys are always good, but I think Conor has really pushed himself the extra because he wants desperately to get back in as quickly as he possibly can and to be as strong as he possibly can. He uses that time so well. He was really devastated when he picked up the injury, and he probably had one day to himself where he was in a bad place, and then he picked himself up and really worked so hard. And so it's a great time for him now to come back into the fold.
And then just finally looking ahead to this weekend, Paul Cook, the Chesterfield manager, won't be on the sidelines as he serves a 2-match ban. I just wanted to know if that gives you any sort of advantage going into the game at all.
Well, I think that his group will certainly miss him, that's for sure, from the touchline. And I think, honestly, my staff will miss him as well, because he's a great guy, and it's actually a pleasure to be in the opposite dugout. I've been lucky enough to do it a couple of times with Cookie, and I think I would say if it will make a huge difference, I don't know. But one thing is for sure is that his lack of presence will be felt, because he's a big personality, and he has a rapport with his team from the touchline in a great way. So yeah, and like I say, genuinely, I would prefer him to be there. I think it feels right. It just feels like he should be there and leading his team. But okay, that's how that's what's happened, and he's going to be banned. But there's no way that it's going to have an effect to such a degree that it will swing the game in one way or the other. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 moments he might be able to have a better influence from the touchline, but I'm sure his staff and himself will be in contact and be able to make any big changes that are needed. So yeah, I think it's actually a bit of a shame for the game, to be honest.